Here we are in Photoshop. I'm going to show you how to create a grid layout for your mood board. I'm going to select Create New. We're going to go over here to Print, and we'll do our dimensions here, 11 by 14 inches, either portrait or landscape, you choose. Our resolution will be at 300 pixels per inch. We're going to go into CMYK color in case we want to print this out later. We'll hit Create. Here is our artboard. I have already gone to internet and typed into Google mood board grid layout template, and there are many to choose from, and I just found this template right here and some pictures that I'm going to put in. Now, depending on which version of Photoshop you use, when you have your selection tool, you try to change the size of your image. It may give you a free transform. With the version that I have, I'm going to hold my Shift key down to constrain my proportions. It may do this automatically for you without holding the Shift key, depending on which version you have. I may not have updated my version of Photoshop. I'll get this nice and big. It doesn't matter that we're going over the boundaries of our artboard. You're going to position this any way you like. I just am putting this template here to give me a guide for the thickness of some of my grid lines. You can actually free draw this. It's completely up to you. Now that I have this here, I want to draw in some lines. We have here our shape builder tool. If I choose the ellipse tool, I need to go over here and choose how thick I want my line and what color. Here I have a color fill with no stroke line, so if I were to draw a circle, and again hold my Shift key down to make this round, you'll see that it gives me this fill. So what I want to do here is I'm going to say no fill, and for my stroke line I want to give that a white color. So you see this white. Now for the thickness of my line, I'm going to choose around 82 pixels wide. And so if I draw my circle here, I'm going to hold my Shift key down, you'll see that I have a nice thick white circle, right? So I'm going to go to my my template layer, this layer right here, and I'm going to bring the opacity down to like a 40% or so I can see what it is I'm doing with my lines here, right? If I do a Control or Command T, I can grab my free transform, hold my Shift key down, and I can get this the right size. And if I hit the check mark when you're done, at this point we're ready to bring in some images. I'll go back to my folder and drag in my first image. Let's drag this cat in here. Alright, this cat is very large. I'm going to hit Control or Command T and hold my Shift key down to resize this cat to fit inside my circle. You'll see I have my cat layer on top of my circle layer. I'm going to drag this down under my circle, right? Now we can reposition this cat. We can change the size of this picture. We don't want to go too far because we don't want to see any straight edges inside here. Now we have these corners poking out. To get rid of that, it's very easy. You just go over here to your eraser tool, and we're going to erase those corners. Now I'm getting a you cannot erase right now because apparently my picture is not rasterized. So I'm going to right click on this layer and I'm going to say rasterize layer. Once that is done, you will see my eraser tool has a little brush shape. Over here we can select the edge hardness for our brush. I'm going to bring this up to 100% so that when I do use my eraser tool, nothing is happening. It's very light. Why is this so light here? You'll see my eraser tool, I had my opacity at 46%. I'm going to bring that up to 100%, and my flow also I'm going to bring that up to 100. And now you can see I can erase this cat's face. I've gone too far forward to just hit Control Z to undo every single step. If you hit Control Z in Photoshop, it just goes back and forth one step. So I need to go to my Windows and go to my History panel to bring this out. And you can see everything that I've done here. I'm going to undo this eraser tool, and then you'll see my picture right after I rasterize my layer. Went to my brush shape, I put my edge hardness at 100%, make sure my opacity and flow is at 100%, and now I can use the bracket keys to the right of my P key on my keyboard. I can change the size of my brush on the fly, and I'm going to erase these corners off of this picture here. Okay, so let's bring in some more pictures. Alright, let's bring in this other cat picture here. It's also very large. I'm going to hit Control or Command T to bring this picture down. We'll put this picture kind of right in there. I'm occluding half of my other cat's face, so I'm going to bring this layer down. First we have to place the picture, hit the check mark here. Now I'm going to place that cat picture behind this cat. And we need to, let's draw in our other grid lines. So to draw in our other grid lines, I'm going to take this, to draw in the other grid lines, I'm going to take this shape builder tool here and select the line tool. Now, to draw a white line, we already have our stroke color selected at white, but I need to go over here and change the weight of my line to about 82 to match. Now when I draw my lines here, you'll see they're nice and thick. If you hold the Shift key down, you can move your line and begin your line wherever you want, right? I think there's a line right about here. And I want it to be perfectly horizontal, so I'm going to hold my Shift key down. That makes your line horizontal, and you can draw your line right there. And let's toggle the visibility of this cat out of the way, and I'm going to go through and draw in all of my lines here. So here's my line, hold my Shift key down, right here.
Drawing all of our horizontal lines. Right here. I'm drawing my vertical lines. Holding down my Shift key. This is over my template.
And that is it. So let's take a look at what we have. If I make my template image disappear, you will see. Now we can't really see our lines, so I'm going to unlock my background layer, and I'm going to change the background color just so we can see what's happening. Alright, so I just gave my background layer, I unlocked it, I double clicked over here to bring up the effects panel, and I selected color overlay, and then I double clicked over here to bring up my color picker, and I just selected, some random color. Hit OK, hit OK. So now you see here's my background layer, has a color, and you can see all the grid lines that I drew. Here's that cat picture. Okay, we'll grab my eraser tool right here, and we can, that's the wrong thing, hit Control Z. I'm going to make sure I have the cat picture selected, the right cat picture, and I'm going to erase it. I can't do that until I rasterize it, so I'm going to. Now, if you get JPEG images off the internet, you don't have to go through this rasterize layer. I think these are PNG images, that's why it's giving me that error. And this is the fastest way to do this. So you see all of my shapes that I've drawn, all these lines, they're all on its own layer. Right here. And we can bring in another picture, but I think you get the idea, right? Let's bring in this tiger. Where can this fit? Let's put this over here. Hit the check mark. I'm going to take this tiger, put it behind that cat picture. Right? We'll grab my move tool and get this into position. And then grab my eraser tool. And I have to rasterize this layer again. Apparently I grabbed a bunch of PNG images. And I have that layer selected, and I can carefully get rid of the unwanted parts of the picture. Now when you do this, don't forget to put your title of your mood board and the season, and then you're done. Yay!